Over the past 2 years, we've seen so many games under the survival game and extraction genres. Those monikers fail again and again, not live up to promise. But what if I told you that there is an open world survival MMO with sci-fi elements that combines things like The Division, The Last of Us, even Stranger Things or Silent Hill, that's actually really good and getting a lot of people's attention, including mine? I've played it. Let's talk about Once Human, because it is a game worth talking about. I'm gonna roll footage from one of my Once Human streams at twitch.tv/Mayor Reynolds. Join me there anytime. But this is from the Once Human beta, which is currently going. We're gonna tell you how to get into that beta if you're interested. But in a nutshell, Once Human is a game from a studio that I had never heard of, published by NetEase. And normally I'm pretty cautious of especially ambitious games from studios that I've never heard of. It's not that new developers can't ever deliver, but it's just a lot of times, look no further than the day before. When you get these studios who don't have a record of delivering on super ambitious projects, it often leads to being a letdown, just like the day before, or in that case, even a scandalous situation. But Once Human is seriously, it's got all the things that a survival game should have, that somebody like me has been looking for. So when I look at a lot of survival games, I'm always interested, but I don't want to spend my time, looking hours and hours and hours looking for some sticks to tape together to make a spear, and then you walk around, now I'm dehydrated, and I spend the next 3 hours just looking for water, and then I find a can of food, but it takes me 6 hours to find the tool to open it. I'm more interested in something that keeps me engaged. I come from a shooter background mostly. I love action. I want to feel challenged, and that's what Once Human is. Right from the get-go, you're playing with weapons and some abilities in this cool, I don't want to quite say post-apocalyptic, but it's almost like zombie apocalypse / like alien invasion. I'm not even sure what's going on with the story yet. We'll get into that, but it's this sci-fi world where there's these almost like The Last of Us like creatures. That's kind of your standard enemy, but then there's these crazy, there's like a bus that gets up and walks on these weird legs, and there's like giant flying bugs. There's a siren head, for those of you who are familiar with Siren Head from other lore stories, whatever games. It's just got a really, really, really cool and interesting and mysterious universe, and the enemy variety is there, and combat is frequent. Like you're gonna see in the gameplay here, this isn't a game where you just walk around doing nothing for long periods of time. There's lots of action, lots of combat, including the survival elements that you also like. Well, I assume a lot of you like, the thirst, the hunger, all that type of stuff. There's base building, which I honestly have just got into, but that's part of the game as well. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about the base building later. All of the things that you'd want from an actual AAA survival game experience are here, and even though it's in beta and this game seemingly came out of nowhere for a lot of us, I feel like this game has more elements and more content than virtually any other survival game we've seen. We've got PvP, we've got dungeons, we've got raids. Seems to be an endless amount of quests and upgrades and crafting, and this game actually delivers on all those fronts. No half-cooked systems, no features that aren't there that should be there. Once Human is like a complete package, and that's not to say it's perfect. I'm gonna get into critique later in the video, but it's very promising. So there's already tons of guns, and like the amount of content in this game already, which is in beta, that right now you can only get in by going to oncehuman.game and applying to join the beta through that. It's not on Steam or the Epic Game Store yet. You can wishlist the game on Steam. It's supposed to release in full in 2024. We don't know exactly when, but compared to most games releasing in the survival genre, this game, I'm not gonna lie, the amount of content in the game, the amount of depth, the size of the map, the amount of weapons, the enemy variety, the just everything, there's dungeons, there's PvP, there's raids. I haven't got into that stuff yet, but this game has it. It's the scope that they are delivering here. I can't understate how impressive it is, and I think is, again, just looking at the game, you'll know if this is something you're gonna like. And there is some stuff that needs polish. You're seeing me on screen right now fumble with the collision of trying to craft some stuff in my base. weird things like that don't work perfectly. The looting, those kinds of things, I don't know, for some reason just doesn't feel quite like smooth or clean, but that's small stuff that can be polished up, I feel, as development continues. It is a beta after all, but they're nailing all the big overarching important pieces, and it's really impressive. Like, this is a game to watch 100%, and I've seen a lot of big streamers start to discover this game and say, wow, this game is great. Like, it's not just me. So if you take a look at Once Human, it's probably a game that just watching a few minutes of gameplay or a trailer, you're gonna know right away if you're interested. It's got a big open world with variety to it. Again, it's inhabited by a lot of really cool, you know, sci-fi elements, kind of that The Last of Us, kind of like the Stranger Things upside down stuff, elements of, like, you know, Silent Hill, this weird like horror alternate reality thing they got going on. Again, I don't know where the story's going, and that's one of my first critiques is the story. I feel that the balance of story in like these open world games, multiplayer games specifically, or MMOs, a lot of games don't get it right. And that's not to say that the story can't be good in an open world multiplayer game like this. Certainly there have been good multiplayer games, open world games with good stories, but it feels like it's blending two different styles. It's almost trying to tell a single player story while also being obviously an open world multiplayer game. And the choice of storytelling mechanisms is a little strange to me. Again, you're walking around in this world where you're seeing all these other people's bases that they've built, and you're running into other players constantly. It does feel like an MMO. It's not like a Destiny or a Division MMO light where you run into 4 or 8 other players here or there. It feels like a true open world MMO. There's different servers. You get to choose which server you create your character on. Once you build your base, it is persistent. It stays there, or you can move it, but you get what I'm saying. It actually has that MMO vibe to it, and it delivers it very well. But the actual story delivery, not only is it like not told in a super polished way at this point, at least, like I'm really not sure what's going on. I'm intrigued by the world, but the actual storytelling, I mean, let's be honest, it's not incredible. It's not the game's strong suit, and I just kind of wish they would tell it through something like you know, the Dark Souls games or Elden Ring, something a little more like that than the way they seem to be going. That's okay. My other critique, really the only other critique I have of this game, is the base building wasn't intuitive at first. Even though the game was directing me how to, you know, what my next steps were to continue building my base, it wasn't obvious. Like I had to really figure out how to build my base. And I'm not a huge fan of base building in most games anyway. I feel like normally it just becomes like just a task that they give you that just seemingly never ends, but it's not really for that much of a purpose. I haven't gotten too deep into the base building yet. I'm just starting to figure out more and more about it. But once you get it, it makes more sense. And there is a lot of depth to it. Again, I'm just not sure what the like end game of the base building mechanic is. But I did figure it out. It's here. I just feel it's not super intuitive for a new player coming from, you know, I haven't played a lot of survival games, but this one, like, I'm really liking. That's it for this video, guys. I don't know how many other ways I can tell you. I really think Once Human has everything that it takes to be a successful open world survival MMO. It's a perfect blending of the MMO genre, so fans like of, you know, World of Warcraft and MMOs will feel right at home, plus the survival aspects with the constant scrounging for things, for ammo, for, you know, water to stay alive, all that stuff. But it's also got those objectives and a really cool universe to explore, and tons and tons of content, weapons to unlock. There's lots of stuff here, so check out Once Human. I'm telling you, if you're watching this video, it's a name to remember. And we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you want previews of more upcoming games. I've got really good instincts for this stuff, so like the video if you made it to the end, and then subscribe to the channel. Come check out my other channel as well, Midnight Mare, where we focus exclusively on Dead Drop, Dr. Disrespects, Studio, Midnight Society, all that. See you in the next one. Mayor Reynolds out.